Greetings, this is Skyler Saunders seeing what's current. Now, I listen to NPR in the mornings. They have very in depth, factual, and excellent reporting. And today's show just happened to be about abortion. And this is a serious matter that a lot of people may not realize is a, a major issue affecting our country. It's up there with mass shootings and the opioid crisis. And if we are to be honest, is probably more important than both of those issues combined because it deals with the exact point of where people are coming to existence. So we have so many different takes on what it means to abort a child. So many different people take it for granted that they have, the right in certain states to abort. So many women do that. But I was just listening to the radio program, and they were saying how there are pilots that are on call, in little Cessnas and small aircraft that take women from one state that doesn't have abortion rights to states that do, or a state that does. And I just want to just look at the thought behind abortion, the thinking part of it, the philosophy of it. Abortion is about life. I say in this title, abortion is pro-life, pro the woman's life, her organs, her body, her mind, most importantly. How she is able to make the distinction between what she wants to do with her own life and what she doesn't want happen to her down the road. And this is not a simple decision. This is not an easy way to just get rid of a kid. A lot of deliberation, a lot of counseling, a lot of thinking goes into whether a woman will have a child or not. And that is proper. That's the only role that abortion should have, is in thinking about it and in acting on it. Those two things, at least, should happen. When you have abortion, you have a fetus, you have a potential. When you give birth to a child and it is individuated from the mother, that is a human being. We must make that distinction. When a fetus is in the womb, or even before then, when it's a clump of cells, of human cells, it's on the same par as cancer. Nobody ever thinks about, whether we should remove cancer cells or not. But when it comes to abortion, it's like, oh no, it's a human being, it's a life. Not quite, not yet, not fully. It doesn't matter if, you say that, quote unquote, God has put this person in this woman's body and is now going to be born. It doesn't work like that. And that there's no earthly reason why there should be laws against abortion. None. They should be completely free. These women should be completely free to make the decision on their own, with their partners, with the people that they love, to know and to decide, to make the choice. If you say pro-choice, pro-mind, because it's pro-life. That's what it's all about. It's all about life, the woman's life. And if there has to be pilots that have to fly from one state to another just to get the baby removed from the body of the woman, or the clump of cells, or the fetus, to terminate the pregnancy, that's a legitimate case. Abortion shouldn't be something that should be cavalier and just be like, oh, well, it's just something to do and I'm going to go shopping afterwards. No, this is a very serious situation, and it has to be taken with very serious and very cautious ideas. When you have women who are so desperate, this is another thing that's a part of American fabric as well, like immigration. They're so desperate to get rid of their child. They should have every right to do that because it's not even their child yet. It's a potential. It has the potential to be a child. It has the potential to be a baby. And of all the different ways that women could be harmed or even die during childbirth, it is important for us to document and to know that we are on the cause for life, for the woman's life. I repeat that over and over because we say it's either pro-life or pro-choice, pro-life or pro-choice. It's pro-life for the woman's life. She has both in. She has the pro-life because it's her own life, and she has her own mind. That's the choice. She chooses to say that she doesn't want to have a child. She chooses to say that she wants to be independent from anyone else's opinions, and how evil and vicious it was for the judges to overturn Roe v. Wade. So now it's up to the states instead of a federal law. That federal law protected women across the board. But what are we doing? We're worried about, whether there's going to be climate change when there has been climate change for 4.5 billion years. And the frequency of different events such as hurricanes and different weather patterns, tornadoes, that's been going on for all this time as well. The frequency didn't increase. It may have even decreased. So, going back to the abortion status, I have to say that, I may have known people that have had an abortion. I'm not 100% sure, but I think that people in my family have had abortions before. And like I said, it's nothing to be tread on lightly. It should be taken with the most severe and exacting language. It should be taken with the amount of care and understanding that we give our other issues on the docket. Because we have so many, like I mentioned, immigration, mass shootings. They want to claim the climate change, which isn't an issue. It's a non-issue. It's a red herring. But we focus on abortion instead of focusing on freeing up the economy, getting rid of all regulations and controls over business. We're concerned with a woman's womb. We're concerned with the vitality of a woman's life and how she lives it and what she wants to do with her body and how she uses her mind. That's the key to all this. This is the era of knowing what we want to do with our own individual lives. However, the government, when it steps outside of its norm, when it steps outside of what it's supposed to do, which is protect individual rights, it tramples over individual rights and doesn't allow you to breathe. It's airtight. It becomes autocratic in that way, authoritarian. When the government chooses to say certain sections of the population has no control over their bodies, their minds, that's when we're in deep trouble. That's when we have to petition, we have to fight, we have to write, we have to make videos like this that go against what the courts did last summer or last spring. We have to continue to fight for the right for women to do what they want, to do what they feel is right in their own minds, to continue on without any delay, to keep on with the idealism of whether or not to take on their own living spaces, to take on the financial burden, because it is expensive in certain respects to have an abortion. It's upwards of $800 to $1,200. in certain circumstances, certain states. So it's not cheap necessarily. I mean, there's a portion of Americans that couldn't pay a $400 bill for an emergency if it came up. So it's nothing to take lightly in a financial aspect. We have to look into this, from the perspective of knowing that there are people that are willing to help, just like those pilots. The pilots are willing to help, these women. They're just in these small aircraft that go 80 to 100 miles per hour, and just to fly over to a state with, where abortion is legal. And if there were any doubters as to what would happen to the people, to the women, you just have to remember, the privacy. There won't be any questions of, why are you doing this, or where are you going, or how are you doing this? Just like when you go to the shopping malls. Nobody comes up to you and asks you, why are you buying that? Why aren't you buying this? You shouldn't buy that. You shouldn't buy this. The same thing applies. It's like when you go in an Uber or a Lyft. They may ask you, where are you going? Or how you doing? But most chances are that they're not going to ask you, what are you doing and why are you doing this and what is this situation about? It'll be completely discreet. And that discretion would amplify the woman's own security and mental stability when flying over to another state, that it doesn't say, no, we have no real reason, no earthly reason to say that abortion is wrong, but we just feel like it is. We have a feeling, we have a sense of that we're killing God's babies. But aren't we always killing God's babies? Even vegetation are alive. A carrot is alive until it's pulled out of the ground. Should we stop eating carrots? And what about the trees? We cut down trees. Should we stop doing that? And animals, we hunt and we reap and take in animals. Should we stop doing that? I ask you, what is it that makes abortion so different from other rights? What is it that makes it a clear-cut example of how there should be liberty in this country for everyone, including women and their lives? That's what matters most. Their safety, their security, their lives. And all of the ways that abortion has been bandied about and been canceled because of the courts, it still stands as the most important, or one of the most important issues of all time. To take not a life, but a potential life. See, I am, and whoever's watching or listening to this video, you are you're an actual human being. You are alive, you are breathing, you have lungs, you have a brain, your blood is pumping through your system. You are an actual human being. And if you have any doubt, just press your neck. Put your hand over your heart. Think. Use your brain. That's how you can tell. It comes to the point where we have a government that has run amok, that has left us bamboozled because of the fact that it doesn't say that we should be free. We are not free. This is not a free country. It's a semi-free country. For the most part, it's free. But there are too many regulations and controls, too many terrible laws that are on the books right now that threaten and harm the very unity and liberties that we should enjoy. And they're endangered as well. Just like Roe v. Wade, it seemed like it was a surprise. Caught a lot of people off guard. Like, wow, okay, after nearly 50 years, you wanted to have the Roe v. Wade, and then all of a sudden you pull the rug from under us, and we're not prepared to go any further. That's where we are right now. We're at the point where we don't have the specific handle over the situation. Just like the president. President, all he could do was say some mealy mouth, well, I'm for abortion and let's go. And even if he's from my state, we're from the state of Delaware. We allow abortion. We permit it. We don't say, abortion is illegal and, you have to fly to a different state to get to it. No, Delaware is a state that has legalized abortion. That's the one fact, at least, that is true and that should remain. And what they call is viability. That's the point at which is delivered from the body of the mother. Now, unless there was some freak accident or some kind of sick or disturbing action that occurred, that would mean that the abortion could continue. If something happened, the abortion would have to continue if some freak accident happened. But other than that, the baby is born and it is an actual human being, a life. But I'm about pro-life. I'm about the woman's life. I'm about saying that she has the right to choose her way for her life. So it's pro-choice and pro-life. There's no such thing as a distinction between those two thoughts. The pro-choice is the mind. The pro-life is the body. And they're definitely together. There's a continuity. There's a join. They're joined together. That's where it is right now. So when you say that you have someone that is going to get an abortion, there's no party. There's no celebration. There's no throwing, confetti in the air and woo, yay, go for your abortion. Let's go do this. Yay, woohoo. Let's have an abortion. There's none of that. It's very serious and solemn and something that should not be taken in any other light except the fact that you're ending a potential in your body. That's a woman. She's ending that potential human being, not the actual. If you end an actual human being's life, when the baby is born and put in an incubator or, is in the arms of the mother or a family member, that's a human being. If you were to kill that human being, you'd go to jail. You'd go to prison. You could possibly be sentenced to life or death because you took a life. That's when they have a life, when they're individuated, when they're no longer within the womb, when they're no longer a part of the woman. It's at that time. But otherwise, an abortion is taking out a potential. It's extinguishing a potential life. It's exterminating it. It's terminating it. That's where we are right now. We're still in the crossroads. Of all the issues, this may be the most important one. Because you think about it, like the late, great George Carlin said, the conservatives, or I like to call them the rightists, because conservative is too good a title, just like for liberals on the left. Liberal is too good for a title for the leftists. So I just call them leftists and rightists. And on the spectrum, I'm on the individualist spectrum. I'm all about the individual and individualism, the idea. So I'm an individualist and I have individualistic ideals. That's what I have. And you ought to have the same. I can't force you. I can't drive you to be rational. I can only persuade you. I can only give you advice. I can only try to say something of value that you may reap and make you understand better what you are and who you are. So, you have so many states that are saying no to abortion. Why? Just like the question about why is there altruism? Why are you altruistic? For what? Why? Why be altruistic? It just blows it away. There's no earthly reason why there shouldn't be abortion. Why there are laws against abortion. There's no earthly reason for them. None. Zero. You can't come up with one single reason why a woman can't choose for her life. Pro-choice, pro-life. So you have the rightists, they're clamoring just like the late great George Carlin said. They want live babies and dead soldiers. I remember bumping into a guy in a hotel one day. He said, "You know what?" Because he noticed that I was a retired Marine at the time, and he said all people should be in the military. Every child should be in the military. I was dumbfounded. I didn't even know what to say. I just kept it quiet and kept it moving because I didn't want to argue with him and say, "You're out of your freaking mind, man. You're totally lost it. You're toasted. You're on something strong." Because not everybody is fit personally, to put it exactly, for military service. Physically, mentally, whatever the case may be. That's why we have a free and open system for joining the military. And that was an issue. There was a draft at one point in time during this country. Lasted all the way up into the 70s. Then they said we're going to have a voluntary armed forces. And we've been strong ever since. We have the greatest military in the world. We have knuckleheads and, complete nitwits and, people in higher up positions. But for the most part, we have dedicated soldiers, sailors, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, Space Force cadets, and Marines. That's a fact. Greatest military in the world, despite the dummies. So I have to say, when they say, when what George Carlin was saying, about live babies and dead soldiers, he was saying that, you're on your own after 18. Oh, be careful. Oh, you're a baby. Oh, you're so cute. You're so sweet. Oh, we love you. Oh, and kissing and everything. And they go up and they go to school and it's like, okay, what are you doing? What are you doing this and everything? And they get to the age of 18. It's like, oh, you're an adult now. So what? Who cares? I don't care about your life. You shouldn't get these programs for you and to help you in your life. And I'm not talking about welfare or food stamps. I'm talking about programs for schools and scholarships. We have to have the same approach as we do for this issue as we do with any other issue. Take it with so much seriousness because it involves life. It involves a woman's life. And like the dead soldiers, nobody cares. Oh, we'll have a memorial service. We'll give her the flag and the Purple Heart, and oh my God, we're gonna have a memorial service and the funeral and 21 gun salute and all this. But they didn't care before. They didn't care when they went in. They were a low down, dirty, filthy, rotten, nasty, disgusting human being. And nobody cares afterwards. Go to any person in the military. Ask them what your drill instructor is doing right now, and if they're in contact with their drill instructor right now. They're not, because they don't care about you, as they should, or they shouldn't. They shouldn't care about you because they're not a value to you unless you make them a value. Maybe there are some pockets in the country where they have the recruit that graduated from whatever military installation, and they become friends with their drill instructor online on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram and so many others. Maybe that's true. I don't know. But I know one thing, it's not for me. I don't know what my drill instructor's doing. We left on good terms. We had a laugh at the end when I was done. I still have the picture of my drill instructor flashing a smile, and I'm just completely doubled over in laughter. But that's what I'm trying to say. That's all I'm saying is that when it comes to life, there has to be a level of understanding and care and loving and reality and reason that has to go into a life when it's born. And it has to carry on past even 18 and up. There still has to be a level of understanding. There has to be a level of realizing what is best for that individual and the individuals involved as well. That's where we are. And if you want to say boo-hoo, ah, ha, ha, women can't, make their own choice. They should make better choices, and they should be able to do as men do and select their sexual partners and everything like that. That's a totally different issue. Women may have the capacity to do that, absolutely, just like men do. But if they have a child or are impregnated with a potential child, then they have to take on the responsibility of what that means to be a mother. I don't know what it means, but I can only surmise that it is a heavy burden and a responsibility. It is a duty, and it is hard, but at the same time, it is lovely, it is rewarding, it is gracious, it is grateful to themselves, not to some fictitious face in the sky. Motherhood. I mentioned this before. John McCain, senator, presidential candidate, he died. He was a war hero from the Hanoi Hotel, Hotel Hanoi. He came home with, an injury that forever scarred him. He had issue with his arm. He came home and he became from a naval officer and started to go into politics and was in politics for many decades. Then he ran for office, the highest office in the land. He was defeated by President Barack Obama. But he lived to the age of 80. He died of brain cancer. His mother lived to be 107. That is amazing because she lived past him 80 years. That's no joke. That's 80 years of being a mother. She had more willpower, more sense of life because she didn't have an illness, because she lived way past his death. She lived years past his death. She was 187 when she died. That's a mother. That's what you have to deal with. 80 years of a child, at least. That's what's possible. And even more. There are some children that live into their 90s and their parents are 110, 111. I see Houston in the comment section. Salute, sir. Hit that donation button. I know I don't have a button yet, but you see my PayPal and my Cash App. Thanks for the Cash App before. I appreciate that, sir. But that's where we are. That's what it is. We have to realize the fact that you're taking on a responsibility, a task that is so profound that it could mean decades of your life, and you could outlive your child, not at maybe a child that falls into the deep end of the pool when they're 3 or 4, and that's very serious and sad and devastating, but all the way to 80, and your child dies of brain cancer and you're still alive and well and you're within your mental capacity. No, I'm not even going to entertain the idea of what it takes to be a mother or a father. A father could live that long, but he's not the one that has to worry about carrying a child for 9 months or 6 months or 4 months or at all. No potential, no clump of cells, or very little clump of cells, depending on what we say. That's what is about. That's what makes us human beings. Houston says, I think we are outliving the expected time. That's why they raised the age of retirement. It's crazy. And that's true. We're outliving the people that we don't expect to outlive. It's a totally different day. 40, 50, 60 years ago, if you lived to age 70, you were very fortunate. People are living into their hundreds now because of things like the fossil fuel industry, because of things like tech industries, and because of medicine that are improving our lives and making our lives better. That's where we are right now. That's what we have to remember. That's what we have to say is crucial to our own understanding. And that's what we are going to do. That's what we're going to do until the day we die, because everybody's got to die someday. Everybody. Once you realize that, then you can rejoice and say, oh, I'm going to die one day. It's not a sad thing. It's not a bad thing. It's just a reality. It's just a fact of life. But I'm going to enjoy every single moment. I'm going to reap I'm going to reap in the very marrow out of the bones of life. I'm going to succor and supple at the teat of life. I'm going to make sure that everything I do is within the bounds of making life better for my own self and for my values. And that comes with women. If they want to have an abortion, why are you stopping them? Give me a good reason. I'm waiting for somebody to tell me a woman can't have an abortion. Let that be known to me, because I cannot understand why an earthly reason or an earthly explanation could tell me, oh yeah, that's a good idea why women can't have abortions. I'm waiting. I'll wait. Come on. Bring me an answer. Why women shouldn't have an abortion? Let me know. Let me know right now. Exactly. I see Houston. He's saying I ain't stopping them. I ain't stopping them either. They have every right. And you can't tell me nothing when it comes to abortion. You can't tell me a straight, realistic, reality bound, scientific, rational explanation for why a woman can't have an abortion. It's just not even It's not even possible. It's not even a thing to be concerned with. It's not even a thing. But we got pilots that are willing and ready. There are a few, it costs, a few $100 to a few $1,000 for the transfer from one state to another via aircraft. And the airplanes also are private personal jets, and they cost a little bit more. They'll get you, the pilot who was speaking this morning, he was saying how that he has to make stops on certain occasions. He has to, if it's more than a day's worth, he has to refuel. He has to, take slumber and have a meal or two in between. This is serious business. This is not something just like, oh well, abortion. Something that could be just said like it's a cool thing. Like abortions are cool. Abortions are just what they are. Getting rid or terminating potential human beings. That's all that an abortion is. Terminating potential human beings. In birth, giving life to actual human beings. Because there's no life in the womb. There's a potential life in the womb, but there's no life. Not yet. Not quite. Almost. Somewhat. But not exactly. And George Carlin said that as well. He said about the census. How come fetuses aren't counted in the census? If they're humans, if they're people, if it's a person, how come they're not accounted for? I ask you. How come they're not saying that you should be saying that you should be praising, should be worshiping the potential? I had a conversation with, a family member. He said, and they said, what about you? There'll be no you. Of course there'll be no me, but I am me. I am myself. I exist. I'm an actual human being. Houston says every count votes. Every vote counts. You dig? And that's facts. He's speaking facts. As a man, he is saying the truth. He says, I tell him, well, I made it. And that's facts too. That's the truth. We're here on this planet, the only one in the universe that we know of. We can continue to have all the kinds of missions and cameras and take pictures of galaxies, of the 20 trillion galaxies there are that exist or more. The solar system, the only planet that's in the Goldilocks zone, not too hot, not too cold, not too this, not too that, just right. We're the only ones. This is the blue origin, as Mr. Bezos says. We're the only one. Only one. And that's part of the oneness. You have one mind, one body, one self, one area of where we are right now. We haven't explored Mars yet with human beings. We have explored the moon with human beings. We haven't set up a base yet, but that's to come. Wait the next quarter of a century to a half of a century. We'll have bases set up on the moon and Mars. But as we are right now, we're one Earth. And that's for all the people that are creationists. And that's for all the people that are, planeteers. I guess you could say that's from my childhood. If you remember Captain Planet, he's a hero. If I say any more, it'll be a copyright charge. So I'm not saying any part of the song. But the people that are for, quote unquote, the planet, that want to get rid of plastics and have paper straws and cardboard boxes and paper bags and all this other malarkey, that is complete nonsense. We're not put on this earth. We are in this earth. There is no God. Contrary to what you have been taught for years and years in your whole life, there is no God up and above or below or around or anything. So we have to remember that, especially when it comes to the issue of abortion, because that's the closest thing that anyone will ever say. Well, it's one of God's babies, like I've said earlier today. They're one of God's babies, or they're God's babies if it's twins or triplets or octuplets. They're all God's babies. Are they God's babies? Does God have anything to do? Are you a deist really? Are you really a deist instead of a theist? A deist is someone who believes that God exists, but just turns away after creation and allows human beings to do what they want, essentially. That's essentially what it means. A theist is someone who believes in God and has dominion over the earth and all of human action. People are more so deists, I think, than theists. I'm an atheist. I'm without or theist. But theists are those who subscribe to the idea that they're concerned with God, but not to the extent of, saying that there's free will. Oh, there's free will. There's such thing as a God, but there's free will. No, you're doing a package deal. A package deal is something that's true, but someone smuggles in a bit of falsehood and tries to package it together into one bundle. And that just doesn't work. The truth is that there is no God and that you have the proper identity of your own self, your own selfish reason for continuing with life. The package deal is when you smuggle in the idea that there's a God. The true part is that there is no God and that human beings have reason to fight against the elements, against nature. Because that's nothing about Earth. This world is trying to kill us, whether we like to realize it or not. There are so many different species that have venom, big teeth, big arms, big legs that are trying to kill us. There are plants that are trying to kill us. Poison ivy, sumac, nightshade. But that's in their nature. It's not their fault. They're just hungry, or they just want to exist as a plant, regardless of what humans are doing. Houston says, "Yep, when I tell people there's no God, they think I'm crazy." He said, "I said, well, what do he look like?" Exactly. Just think of that. Just think about what does God look like? What does he sound like? What does he smell like? What kind of cologne does he wear? What is he wearing pants? Does God wear pants? Might go, commando and just not, just wear a shirt and sit on his throne, doing whatever, playing chess, playing the game of What is a God? Explain that to me, please. I've been trained for 17 years what a God is, and I still didn't get it. And once I found out that there's a person called Ayn Rand who introduced me to philosophy of objectivism, I finally understood there is no God, and there's only existence. Existence exists. A is A. Existence is identity, and consciousness is identification. Remember that. And Houston also goes on to say they plan to an MF nobody ever seen, but don't believe in me. Who's crazy? Who's crazy? Is Houston crazy? He's just keeping it real. He's just telling the truth. He's keeping it a buck, as we say. But we still have pilots. We have to resort to pilots and so much more. We have to resort to 4-hour, 8-hour, 12-hour drives to go to the next state just so a woman can have her own life continued without the recourse or the understanding of having a child. That's where we are. That's what we're fighting for. I mean, you can see it in art. Art always imitates life, and life imitates art. It's a two-way street. When you have so many people aware of themselves and that know what is right but don't act on it, that's when we get into trouble. That's when we get to a point where we don't know one thing is good or the other is good. Because there's always two options. What is pro-life, and I mean that in the sense of a philosophical way, not the abortion debate, or anti-life. That's our only two options in everything we do. Every single action we take, every choice we make is pro-life or anti-life. Is this for my betterment or is this a detriment? Will this create something better for me in my life or will this worsen my life? That's all we have. And if you have any, if you're still on the fence, if you're agnostic on this situation, you can't tell, well, maybe a woman could, I don't know, they could, but it's about the child maybe coming to birth. Know this. When you have a woman that is of age, never mind a minor, and that's another issue, or someone who has been raped or had incest, those are important issues. But just to consider a woman who didn't even experience those things, just consider that. Consider the fact that a woman has the choice to make for her own good. And like Houston said, I ain't stopping them. I ain't stopping them either. I'm not putting up any roadblocks. I'm not putting up any kind of sign saying, no, don't do it. Because there still isn't an earthly reason against abortion. There is none. None. Absolutely not one. Nobody can tangle with me. Nobody can argue with me that there's a reason against abortion. So the women who have to make these flights and the women who make these drives and vans and buses across state lines, because this state had the audacity to understand that a woman's body and her mind are her own, against the other state that says, well, it's not really up to her. It's up to God. It's up to Jesus. That's Jesus' baby. That's the terrible, vicious, evil, and ugly way that we continue to have on this planet, in this country, especially. Because there are countries that are completely outlaw abortion. Completely. The whole country outlaws abortion. They've already figured out a way that say that women are beneath them. Here's just a few: Libya, Iran, Indonesia, Venezuela, and Nigeria. They have serious and significant restrictions to abortion access. The whole country. Some have exceptions, like I said earlier, rape, incest, or fetal abnormality. But those are in rare cases. Most cases are with women with their partner that decide to say, hey, I don't want to have this baby. And there's no one that can, tell me otherwise. To have them go through being like Jordan Neely or Eric Garner or Trayvon Martin, so many others, Breonna Taylor. What about them? They were babies once. They didn't live to see a full life. So a woman should have her own mind and body afflicted because they raise a child all the way up to about to their teens or 20s or 30s, and then wait to see them have been shot down in the streets like a dog or strangled to death. That's what I'm talking about. The fact that there is a ban on abortion it should be serious, and I'm not laughing, but it's ludicrous. So it's almost laughable. It's seriously funny. I'm not taking it lightly. I'm just saying how ridiculous it is. It's ludicrous. It's absolutely a sham that any abortions should not go down anywhere in the world, and especially where we should be concerned with America. So when you hear people say, it's a free country, we live in a free nation, you sure? Can women get an abortion in Alabama? Can a woman get an abortion in Mississippi? That's the problem. That's where we are as a people. It said the new law took effect on July 7, 2022, after Mississippi State Attorney General Lynn Fitch certified on June 27th the Supreme Court decision on Dobbs versus Jackson Human Health Organization on June 24th of that year. It has what they call a certified trigger ban, which bans all abortions except to save the life of the pregnant woman. Except to save the life of the pregnant woman. And that should be the case in any case, because it's her body and her mind and her life. That's where we are. That's the difference between the animal kingdom and the human kingdom, the humanity. That's the very difference. That's what separates us from animals, our ability to reason. A gecko can't have an abortion the same way as a human. There may be, correct me if I'm wrong, there could be some kind of an abortive state where a salamander or a banshee might be able to, or a wolverine may be able to have an abortion, but not in the same way that humans can. We have the rational faculty to say, no, I don't want to have a child. That's what women have. Women have that ability, have that capability of mind to say, no, I wish not to proceed. So when all these states that ban abortion, even if the woman's life is at stake, or rape or incest, even then, that's an issue right there. To say that a woman cannot have an abortion is like saying she cannot breathe. It's the same thing. It's the same principle. And I'm all about principles, no matter what. Houston Houston also says the thing is, if a man says, I don't want a kid now, the woman would still have the kid and want you to take care of it. That's a part of it. That's a fact. That's a fact. There's the late great August Wilson had a play called has a play called King Hedley II. Or Ken, and there's a famous scene and where the character Tonya, she says to King Hedley that King Henry II, that she's not having a baby and nobody is going to tell her otherwise. I'm paraphrasing. But there's also the flip side of that, because there's a woman that wants to carry the child, but the father or the potential father does not want to carry the child to come into fruition. We have to deal with that as well. The male side. Because what if a man, doesn't want to have the child? He should have the right to say, I want to pay for this abortion. I'll give you the money, and you go down and you get the abortion. And the same thing with the woman. Woman can take her money and say, I'm having this abortion. I don't have to tell you otherwise. I don't have to explain it to anybody. That's the truth. Houston also says, and when you break it down, it's a godlike mentality. Facts on facts on facts. It is like a godlike mentality. And because there is no God, human beings are the only ones that have that capacity, that have that ability to do that. There's so much to deal with in this country. Abortion rights was not an issue to be besmirched, to be downgraded, to be played around with like it's a game. The Supreme Court was in error on this one, just like it had been in previous things, like Brown v. Board and the Civil Rights Act. And again, what can the president do? He's in the highest office in the land. He just was mealy-mouthed, and we're going to try to fight it, and we're going to see what we can do. There's nothing he can do. He has no power over the court system. He's in the executive branch, not the legislative or the court system. Judicial. He has no possibility to do it. So we have to fight. We have to, as human beings, as Americans, we have to fight and continue to fight for women to have the right to say what they want to do with their own lives. Again, pro-life, pro the woman's life, pro-choice, pro her mind to choose what she wants to do with her own self. And that's selfish, completely selfish. And that's a virtue. That's a good thing. She ought to be selfish. It's her body, her mind. Everything about that is selfish. And that's a good thing, not a smear, not to denigrate, not to degrade or use selfishness as something other than what it is, a beautiful understanding of the individual. That's what I'm talking about. We're so close to being on the precipice of taking all our rights away. I mean, we come up with certain scenarios like, oh, the right wants to take away our bedroom, and the left wants to take away our boardroom. What goes on in those places. But it's both. The left and right are the same in a sense. There's hardly any telling what is the difference between them. There's hardly any station where we can say that the right is completely different from the left. Rightists and leftists are both trying to do what their other names or titles are to do, conserve and liberal. Well, what is liberal? Free. What are they conserving? Freedom. But they can't do it. The left and the right are both corrupt for various different reasons. And for them to say that a woman can't make her own choice for her own life, that is the evil that must be wiped out before we are wiped out. And that brings me to the conclusion. Thank you very much for riding with me. I hope you share this video, like and subscribe, send a donation to my PayPal and my Cash App. I appreciate the support. Thank you very much and take care.